Now we're talking to Bill Lieberman, flight test engineer and a pioneer in the jet age flight testing. Bill, when the airlines transitioned from propellers to jet airplanes, that changed the certification in some way, didn't it?
It changed it completely. And there were no regulations at the time that the 707 or the Dash 80, the Boeing prototype for the 707, was flying. And the four companies that were producing jet commercial airliners got their flight test units together, and the four of them, that was Boeing, Douglas, Consolidated, and Lockheed. And those flight test engineers with the FAA redid the CARs, that's the Civil Air Regulations, and published the Federal Air Regulations now for jet airplanes, and that's called the FAR 25.
So Bill, in this transition period between propellers and jet aircraft, we heard you tell about the differences between the CARs and the FARs, but how about the equipment that was being used at the time to actually record the data?
Well, before that time, we used photographs of instruments and pressure tubes and that sort of thing. And after the flights, that data was reduced manually, and this took a long time to reduce it, and the number of measurements that were required, the variables that were used, was greatly increased in the jet age. So we went to digital and designed digital recording equipment, and was placed aboard the airplanes, and the flight test engineer, he operated the equipment. And when the airplane came back down, we used IBM 360s to reduce it, and it usually took about 1 or 2 days to get all the data that we had, which before that time might have taken 2 weeks. Then the analysis of the data could take place almost immediately, and we could give the results of the testing and any things that needed to be changed in the airplane almost immediately, so it increased the efficiency and decreased the time of certification.
Now, Bill, I understand there's a difference between company flight testing and FAA flight testing. Could you tell us about that?
Yes. An airplane is designed by the company, for instance, Boeing is designed, and a lot of new stuff is included in the airplanes, and because of their high performance and larger size, we're not really sure that everything's going to work until we test it in flight test. But we don't. We do run ground tests, but there's nothing like flying the stuff to really find out how well they operate. The engineers, the design engineers in the company, request 2 flight tests through applicable paperwork, a test they want, what they want to know, and the data they need, and that comes to the flight test, and the testing is planned and scheduled, and the data that has arrived goes back to the requesting engineers, so they know how their design worked and whether it did work or wasn't up to snuff, and they can make changes before it goes to the FAA for testing. That's called the company flight testing, and that's usually twice as much flight testing as the certification testing. After all the ins and outs of the company testing and all the bugs are worked out, then the airplane as a whole goes into what is called the certification testing. And the certification testing is accomplished by the flight test department in conjunction with the FAA, using their pilots and DERs, designated engineering representatives, and that testing follows the Federal Air Regulations Part 25.
So, Bill, can you discuss about the Dash 80 and the differences between the Dash 80 and the Boeing 707, and also discuss the certification and how it was developed with the timing of the certification of the FARs with the 707?
Yes. The Dash 80 was a prototype for the KC-135 for the military as a tanker, and for a commercial jet transport aircraft. And this was probably the basic airplane that was used as a prototype for the development of the Federal Air Regulations. And of course the Dash 80 was a prototype and had many changes where they did not, until they really met the regulations that were being developed at that time. And that went into the design of the 707. Then when the 707 came off the lines, we knew pretty well that it would work and it would meet the new Federal Air Regulations. So we still had to do the company testing because there were significant differences in the requirements. And after we finished the company testing, we requested from the FAA to do the certification testing, and we did that. And from then on, the FAR 25s and SR 71, which was special regulations that were developed, were used, and for the preceding airplanes.
No, it's
We've
recording.
been talking to Bill Lieberman, who is was the chief of flight test and analysis for the Boeing company from the 707 up to the 747, involved in design and certification. Now, Bill, one last question. I know that after you retired, you went sailing, but did you get involved in aviation after that?
Yes, when I didn't have anything to do, I was a consultant for Aviation Partners, and they're the people that design certified winglets that you see here for most commercial and business aircraft.
Well, thanks a lot for the interview, Bill. Stay tuned for episode 2, Blended Winglets.
Okay.
Come fly with me, let's fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come fly with me, let's fly away.